Hi everyone, as promised, this is the continuation of Module 1 of Excel that we started on Thursday. I wanted to do this lecture, continue it so that you can go through it and finish the chapter so that on Tuesday we can pick right up from there because we only have a few more weeks left before we really start to wrap things up. So hopefully everyone would watch this and you'll be able to complete the assignments this weekend and be up up to date for Tuesday. So we move forward from chapter 1 in Excel. So we've already did the first part of the chapter um, where you built out the worksheet right from scratch. So we already filled in all of the data, and this section we'll go a little further into it where we will look at things like formatting, the text, formatting the numbers, and of course the last bit is adding the chart, okay, because it's creating a worksheet and a chart. Okay, so the next slide we will look at the objectives for this lecture, and we go forward from there. Okay, so these are the learning objectives for this particular lecture. Four key things you should be able to do by the time you finish with this last part of the chapter. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is how to enter a formula for the worksheet using the keyboard and then copying the cell, to adjacent cells. That just means being able to type out the formula because there's several different ways of doing that. But the first approach we're going to use is enter it by typing it in, okay? And then we're going to look at formatting the worksheet so that it looks like this. This is how we want it to look in the end. So that will include changing the color of the font, merging and centering the header and subheader, and just adding some other color to the body of the worksheet. And we're also going to format the numbers, okay? And then after that, we're going to add the pie chart. As you see here, this is a pie chart we're going to add to it. And then the last bit is we're going to change the sheet tab names and color, which you'll understand more about when we get to that bit, okay? So this is the last half of the chapter, and hopefully, by covering the lecture, you would be able to do these things. Now, I'll just say that. Okay, so we picked up where we left off, and we'll start by entering a formula using the keyboard or typing in the formula. So the formula we are going to work on is the net income for Linda. So we're going to create a formula, a similar formula that will calculate how much funds she has left after she subtract all of her expenses. Okay, so the net income is the money that's left over after you spend your expenses, right? You spend all your expenses and you subtract that from your total income. Okay, so let me just show really quickly. So to enter a formula using the keyboard, the first thing we're going to do is press the equal sign because this indicates the Excel that we are about to enter a formula. And so we're going to put that in B19 because that's where the net results are going to be. So we enter the formula there, and then we're going to copy it all the way over for each month. Okay, so the formula again is you're going to take your expenses, you're subtracting your expenses from your income, and that's going to give you the result for your net income. Okay, so why are we doing this by entering it using the keyboard or typing it in when we could simply go to functions like we did for the totals? Well, sometimes, as it's written here, sometimes a predefined function does not fit your needs, right? Therefore, you need to enter a formula of your own. And so that's one of the things that makes Excel so dynamic, is because whatever calculations you need to get out of the data, if there's no built-in function, you can develop your own your own function, your own formula to pull that data out from all the numbers, right? So we get a little look at that now. If we go back to the worksheet, so again, we're in B19, and we're going to start by hitting our equal sign. We're going to start by hitting our equal sign, and we're going to do, say, B6, subtract B17, right? And what you'll notice is that it highlights the source where we're getting the format from. So it's highlighting the different cells, okay? And once you hit enter, it's going to generate the answer. So for the month of January, after Linda spends all of her expenses, and that's taken out from her income that she brings in for January, she's going to have this amount of money left behind. And so to simply copy that formula over, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to use the fill handle and click on it and drag it all the way across and release it, and it's going to generate all of the calculations, okay? So the fill handle is basically copying over whatever formula is in this cell, is just copying it over to each of the other cells, okay? And calculating it, as you can see, based on the same data for that row, okay? So for example, B19 is calculating B6 minus B17, and for C19 is doing C6 minus C17. So that's why you use the fill handle. It just copy over the formula, okay, and it gives you the total. So that's basically that section. Entering a formula by typing it in, and then copying over that formula over to all the other cells that require that particular formula, okay? So the next step we're going to go look at now is formatting. So that's going to be on the next slide. We're going to look at formatting, how to format this, make it easier to read, easier to understand, okay? Okay, so let's get into some formatting of the worksheet. So we start by formatting the title and the subtitle. And what we're going to use to do most of the formatting is cell styles, okay? Now cell size, it says here, it's a colorful style is a great way to make important data stand out on the sheet. So we use cell styles to make the data stand out on the sheet and make it easier to read. And if I just show you here really quickly, so cell styles, these are predefined font sizes and font color that you can apply to a cell. Why would you use a cell style as opposed to doing it, formatting it on your own? So the reason why is when you use predefined styles, right, it provides a consistent appearance to common portions of your worksheet, such as the title, the subtitle, column headings, row, the total in the rows, etc. Okay, so these are just built-in formatting, similar to when we use like themes in PowerPoint, and we also use themes in Word. Cell styles are similar. They're predefined, built-in font size and color that you can use to quickly and efficiently add formatting to your worksheet, making it easier to read, making it consistent, okay? So let's go back now to the worksheet. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to add some cell styles. We're going to add some specific ones for the title and the subtitle. And we're also going to, which will include adding color to it. And then we will also do a bit of centering, margin and centering, which I'll talk about shortly, okay? So first let's start with A1, which is the personal budget worksheet. And we're on home, we go to styles, we go to cell styles, you click on the drop down menu, and again, these are all predefined styles that you can add. If we use our mouse, you can see how it impacts the text, okay? So these are specific ones that you would typically see in a Excel worksheet, okay? For example, the title, this is the one we're going to choose for the personal budget worksheet in A1. That's right in. So that's a title, right? Because that's a title of the worksheet. So we want to select that. Okay. So now that we have selected that, we added that cell style, the title cell style, to this. And now let me just say, you might not, if you're doing something like this for yourself or someone else, you don't have to use these specific cell styles, but these are ones that are just generally used for each of the sections of the worksheet, if that makes sense. Okay. So for personal budget worksheet, we've added a cell style. Now what we're going to do, we're going to change the color of it. So we're just going to go to the font color, and we're going to add orange accent 2 because it matches the rest of the worksheet. Okay, once we finish formatting it, if you remember from the beginning, it's orange and white colored. So we're going to color it orange, and then we're also going to bold the text. Okay, so we color it orange and bold the text. Okay, now the next bit, we're going to do the same for monthly estimates. We're not going to use a cell style for that one. We're actually going to just change the font to Calibri Light, and we can let's make the font a little bigger. So we're going to make the font 14, Calibri Light 14, and we're going to use the same color. Okay, we can bold it if you want, or just, yeah, that looks good to me. Bold it, change it to Calibri Light, and we change the font size. Okay, so because of course the title is 18, the font is 18, and the subtitles are a little small at 14. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for in terms of the formatting of the text for the title and the subtitle. The next bit that I want to show you here is we're going to merge the cells. Okay, and you'll see it in action, but I just want to explain that merging is simply involves creating a single cell, right, by combining two or more cells. Okay, so why do you merge cells? It centers the title across the columns. Okay, so basically merging is just centering the title and the subtitle in the middle of the worksheet instead of having it on the left. Reason is just so that it's easier to read, it looks more professional and attractive in a sense. Okay, so to merge and center this information, first thing we're going to do is decide the how wide we want to merge it, right? Since the worksheet goes as far as N, we want it centered between A and N. Okay, so we're going to highlight it, showing the exact range where we want it centered, and you're just going to go up to alignment and click on merge and center, and that centers it. And we'll do the same for monthly estimates, because as a subtitle, highlight the area you want to merge and center and click on it, and it puts it right in the middle. And what you'll notice is that all of the lines, all of the column lines coming down are gone, right? Because it's merged all of these columns into one for the title, and the same for the subtitle. So it gives it a more cleaner look and appearance. Okay, so that's the beginning bit of formatting the actual written content for the title and subtitle. So let's continue. So the next one we're going to look at is the income, the title income, the row title income, and all the month, the titles, the month right down to the total. Okay, for this one we're going to go to cell styles, and we're going to add heading 1. Okay, heading 1, simply because this is one of the main headings for the worksheet in terms of the data. And we're going to do the same for the expenses. We're just going to go across, and we're going to choose cell style heading 1. Okay, so that is all set. We have heading 1, heading 1. The next style we're going to choose is the totals, right? The totals going across. We're going to go to cell style, and we're going to choose total. And we're going to do the same for the total expenses. And we're going to go to cell style again, total. Okay, so that's all the formatting we're going to do for at this point for the headings for the rows, the heading for the columns. Okay, the heading for the columns, for the specific columns. Now the next bit, because you do know that net is another bit of very important information, probably the information that Linda will be looking at first and foremost, because she really wanted us to create this worksheet so she can know how much money she has left, a record of the money she has left every month. Okay, so for net, we're going to highlight this one. We're going to do this one a little different. Instead of adding a total, we're going to highlight it, and we want to add a color so that it can pop, right? It's going to be a bright color orange so that she can quickly notice it and look, that's where her eyes will be drawn, because that's the first bit of information that she'll probably be looking for. Okay, so we're going to go with orange accent 2, and so that's how we're going to format the net, right? The cell style we're using is just a color in this case, which is accent 2. Okay, and now we're going to add some more color to the overall worksheet. We're going to add some color. We're going to add some more orange color, and a little lighter than the one that we currently use for the net. Okay, so I'll just start. We're going to color the line for wages, so you highlight it. Okay, so we're going to color the line for wages. You highlight it, and you go to cell style again. You can choose any other lighter color if you want. I am going to go with 20% accent 2. Okay, and then for dividends, just so you can just to differentiate it from wages, we're going to add a different color. We're going to go with 40% accent 2, because again it's another shade of orange, but it's a little darker, right? And we're going to use that same trend for the expenses. We're going to go with lighter orange, darker orange. An easier way of doing this would be to highlight, for example, because it's every other line, we're going to go light dark. Okay, so you can highlight say the line for rent, and then I'm going to hold down the control key while that's highlighted, and I'm going to highlight tuition, because that's also going to be the light orange. Entertainment, going to highlight that's also going to be light orange. Gas, light orange. Okay, and then I'm going to release control and the mouse, and I'm going to go up to cell style, and we're going to click on that light orange, and it's going to go in. Now you can do this line by line. That is fine. This is just a more efficient way of selecting 2 or more rows or cell or ranges that are not right next to each other. Okay, so same for the rest of it. Food, you're holding down the control key. Books, car payment, and finally miscellaneous, and we're gonna do those on the darker orange. Okay, 40%, and immediately you can see that it helps with reading the information on the worksheet. Just that move of putting the different colors for the different rows, it helps you to be able to identify what's rent from food, what's food from tuition, what's book from entertainment. So now you get an idea of the reason why you need to format worksheets, right? And format them in a smart way, in a way that makes sense, so that the reader can quickly process the information. Okay, so now that we have that done, what else do we need to format in terms of the written text? Okay, so that's about all we need to format in terms of the written text. Okay, so the next bit of it, we will look at formatting the actual figures. Okay, formatting the numbers, because we need to add some formatting to the numbers also, so that they also are easier to read. Okay, instead of seeing all the zeros and just the numbers without dollar signs or pound signs, we'll do some formatting to make that easier to read next. Okay, so to format the figures in the document, we'll start looking at which which data we want to format. Okay, now usually for this worksheet we're going to format all the number figures. Some things we're going to use what is called the accounting number format, and we're also going to use the comma style. Now just to explain a bit about why we need to do this. Okay, so it states the requirement document, which is what we looked at in the beginning of the chapter when we talked about planning your worksheet. This is where you decide where you want how you want your formatting to look, right, which would include numbers in the worksheet. Okay, so it says that in the requirement document we identified that we wanted the numbers in the first row and the last row of each section to be formatted using dollar and cents format, while other numbers would use the comma format. So why are we using this, right? Using a dollar and cent format for selected cells would make it clear for the user. It will make it clear, in this case for Linda, to understand what numbers represent, that they are dollar values, and it helps with the cluttering of the entire worksheet, so that we just don't change everything to dollar signs. We'll just change the most important information that you want to look at as dollar signs, and then we're gonna apply the comma format to the rest of the larger numbers just so they're easier to read. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first set of numbers we're going to change to the accounting number format is her wages, which is important information that she would look at. This is her wages and her total wage. So you're going to go up to numbers and click on an accounting number format, and it immediately changes it to in my case it's pounds, in your case it should be dollars. Okay, and so it changes it to dollars with the comma and the period between the cents and the dollar. Okay, so we're also going to do that for the totals, of course. This is another bit of information that's important for her to zero in on, for her to know that that is dollars. We're going to do the same for expenses. We'll highlight the first row, add the accounting number format, and then add for the totals, accounting number format. And of course we're going to do the same for the net. We're going to add that in accounting number format. Okay, so that's all the figures we're going to use the accounting number format with. The other bit of figures, right, that we're going to highlight, we're going to use again just the comma style. So we can also use, say, the accounting number format, but it makes it more difficult to read, as opposed to, say, the accountant. It's cleaner. Okay, because one of the things you'll notice immediately is that when you use the comma style, it changes any zero number data that's in there. It changes it to a dash. Again, make it clear, easy for the person reading it to know, okay, this was a zero, right? And it's not clogged up, so it eliminates all the zeros in the worksheet. So we do the same for all the rest of the figures. This big chunk right here, for the rest of our expenses, just highlight it in one and go up and click the accounting number format, and you can again see clearly how much more easier it is to read and understand. Our last bit of formatting you'll probably notice that we need to fix is that some of the headings for the columns, right, they don't fit, so they are hidden. For example, November, you can't see all the words, so these are hidden. So in this case, what you need to do is you need to widen the columns so that all the data fits. And there are several ways of doing this. A quick and easy way that's introduced in chapter 1 is you just go up to this section right here. Between each of the column, there's the kind of border separation between two. And what you'll notice is that your mouse changes from the cross to more of a thinner cross here. And all you're going to do is double click on it. And what this does, it expands the column to accommodate the text within the column. So not all of them might need it. Notice January didn't move much because it can already hold that. But you just double click because some of them just need a little bit extra space. So you just go ahead and double click on them. Yeah, so I'm just going to double click on each one just to make sure that they are all fitting properly. And let me just do that before I do one more thing. They are all now, you can see all of the words now written clearly. The only thing I want to do now is just to highlight this row with income, and we're just going to center in information. Makes it even, look more neat than it was before. So again, highlight it and center it. Okay, so now look at that. It looks much more reader friendly. A person looking at this can easily identify the main information that they might be looking for. And I just want to show one more thing before we continue now to looking at adding the chart, right? I just want to identify one thing. When you're working in an Excel worksheet, you might come across sometime columns or cells that have that has this symbol, right? It might look like that. The reason why is because the numbers do not fit in the cell, okay? As opposed to if it's, say for example, for December, as opposed to, again, here some of them fit. Notice some of them fit, but some of the numbers are too big. So it inserts a hashtag, kind of as a warning that those numbers it can't fit. You need a cell to be bigger, so you need to expand the cell out, okay? So anytime you see that hashtag in a cell, it just means that the column is too small and you need to make it bigger to accommodate for the numbers, okay? So remember that. Don't panic when you see anything that looks like that. You just need to make that column bigger so that all the numbers fit, okay? If words can't fit and numbers can fit, it would look normal, but you just see that some of the word is missing, okay? But because Excel is primarily focused on the actual data, the numbers, it triggers the hashtag if the number can't fit, because it needs, the idea is that you should be seeing that number. So you double click on it, make it bigger, everything fits. So at this point, this is our formatted worksheet, okay? And the next objective, the next step we're going to look at, we're going to take this worksheet and we're going to generate the 3D pie chart that Linda requested in the requirement document, okay? And that 3D pie chart would identify what she's spending her money on, her expenses, and how much she's spending it on. So that's the next bit of the lecture. Next, we're going to insert our pie chart for the worksheet. So we're going to insert the pie chart for the worksheet. We're going to format the pie chart, which is changing the style of it, labeling it, and then we're going to add it to a new worksheet. And the final bit of the chapter, this lecture, is we're going to rename our sheet. You'll see that in action if you don't know what I mean, and change the color of each tab. But let's just first start with creating the pie chart. So this is the pie chart that we're going to create for the worksheet. This is the finished product. This is how it's going to look, okay? Now, a chart is simply a visual representation of data, right? And so in this case, this pie chart is looking at the monthly expenses, Linda's monthly expenses. and each one of her expenses are represented with a piece of the pie. So it's kind of looking at data as part of an entire, as a whole, right? So the whole thing is her monthly expenses, and the pie chart shows a visual representation of each section, each one of her expenses, so she can clearly look and see if orange is rent or blue is rent. She knows this is the biggest chunk of her expenses. Okay, you see a clear one once it's done. This is just an image of it, so let's just go right in and get started. Now, the most important thing to recognize when you insert in a chart is you need to know what data you actually want the chart to represent. So in this case, we know that she wants us to represent her rent, not her rent, her expenses. She wants to know her expenses and to visually be able to quickly look and see which one of her, what proportion of the money that she spends for the whole year, her expenses, which portion is represented by each individual item. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, you need to highlight the tool range of data that's going to go into the chart. Okay, so we know we want to see her expenses, which is her rent. Okay, not her rent, her expenses, which is from her rent to her food, tuition, books, etc., down to miscellaneous. So what you're going to do, you're going to highlight it. Okay, and let me do it better because that did not highlight. So we're going to highlight it and holding down the control key again because we want to highlight both of the ranges. So I am holding down the control key and I'm going to also highlight the total. Okay, if I release that, so the chart is going to visually represent her rent, the total of her rent from January to December, and for each other item in her expenses. Okay, so this is going to represent that visually, all of her expenses and how much she spent in total for each one, and then she can then compare it visually, so she can get the idea of exactly where her money is going. Okay, so we're going to insert. Now, insert, because it's a chart we're inserting. There are loads of different types of charts that you can insert, and even there's a drop down where you can even add more. You can even look at more, depending on what information you want to visually show or represent. There are different charts for that, right? In this case, we're just going to use a simple pie chart, also pie chart or donut chart. And these are named pie chart or donut chart because they're circular, right? If you click on it, these are the options. So these are all the pie chart examples. And you click on them. You don't have to click on them, just mouse over them and you get an idea. And this is a 3D and this is a donut chart if you want to use that, right? So the pie chart, the 3D pie chart, we're going to use this one because we want it to show proportions of a whole, okay? So use it when number equals 100%. The chart contains only a few pie slices, right? Because in this case, we only doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We only wanted to represent 8 items. If this was 100 or 200 items and expenses, the pie chart would be broken up in too many pieces for you to quickly visually understand what the data means. So then you might use a different type of chart. Okay, so 3D pie chart is especially useful when it's only a few items that you're representing. So we're going to click on that. Very simple. It pops it right in on top of the worksheet. So this is her pie chart here. Okay, and the very first thing we're going to do is we don't want to present it to her saying chart title because again, we want it to be, the idea is that it's a professional document. It's a professional document that we are providing her with, because remember, if we think on it in the context of being, say, her assistant. So we're going to name it. You can, to rename your chart title, again, it's just a text box. So you can click on it, double click on it, delete what's written there or highlight it, and we're going to just type in monthly expenses. Okay, so click off of it. It's now, you can move it so it's more centered. If I think I got it moved when I hit enter, so I just make sure it's centered again, just a little bit more centered. Okay, yeah, so it's labeled. So that's how you change the title of your chart. Okay, each chart that you generate, whether it's pie or any other type of chart, there will be a generic label, and it's required that you change the label so it represents the information that it's that the pie chart or the chart is about. Now, I just want to highlight, every time you insert a chart, there's some options that pop up on the side. If you can see them, I can hold my mouse. This one is chart elements, okay, where you can add or remove chart elements such as the title, the data labels, etc. We're not going to look at that in this chapter. The other one is, let me just move my mouse on it again, is chart styles, and this is again some built-in formatting to change the look of your chart if you wanted to change it. And then the final one is chart filters and edit data points. We're not going to look at that one, but the one that we do want to click on is chart styles, because according to the book, we're actually going to change this to we currently have it set to style 1, but just to get some practice to see the differences, you can use your mouse, pull it down, and see the different type of styles, right? So it's a 3D pie chart, but it can look different. Depend on what you want and what you think looks better. In this case, the book suggests we use style 5. You know, just as an example, we can choose that style 5. And there we have it. This is our pie chart. Now the only thing you'll notice is that the pie chart here now is already inserted. We formatted it as much as we can. You can easily quickly see that her most expenses for the year is this gray one, which is her tuition, and she also spent a lot on books, and blue, which is entertainment. No, her rent is a darker blue. Okay, according to the pie chart, she can quickly see that her she spent the least amount of money on books and on entertainment, and yeah, books and entertainment basically is the smaller ones, but that's our pie chart all done. But as you notice, it's currently at the on top of the worksheet, right, which is not ideal, because if we present this to Linda, she's like, how am I supposed to see the information on the back, right? Now you can move it, you can pull it down and put it under, but that's still not ideal. It's not ideal. The idea is that it'll be good for this to pop out separately on its own page. So to do that, we stay where we are on chart design. Remember, if you click off, you don't see the options for the chart. If you click on the chart, you get all the other options for chart design and formatting. But what we want to do, we want to move this chart, okay? So we're going to click on it and we're going to move it where we want this chart to go. We want it to go on a new sheet, okay? Currently, this is one sheet and we want it to go on a new sheet. And what we're going to do is we're going to name, you can name the sheet, okay? We want it to go on new sheet, and we're going to name this sheet monthly expenses chart. Okay, so we're going to name the sheet monthly expenses chart. Why we're naming it, this sheet, the original one we're looking at, is currently called sheet 3. Yours would probably be sheet 1. It's just that I had other data in this worksheet that I deleted, right? So it's sheet 3, but it would normally be sheet 1. And the idea is that you label your sheets appropriately, so that someone looking at it on a computer can look at it and know what is on the sheet. Okay, so monthly expense chart, new sheet, we're going to click OK. It's going to pop up in the new sheet, and the new sheet is going to be labeled. So if you click on here, this is what you'll see. If you click on sheet 3, this is what you're going to see. Of course, now we're not going to leave this as sheet 3. We're going to change the name of this one, so we're going to rename sheet 3. So you right click with your mouse on sheet 3, and you're going to go to rename, and it's going to highlight it. You can delete what's there, and you can type in, say, monthly expenses. Okay, you click off of it, you can see monthly expenses and monthly expenses chart, and you could click between those sheets. Okay, so if you present it to her, she looks at her worksheet with all the data, and she's like, okay, now let me look at the chart to see. She clicks on it. You can add as many sheets as you want and represent any chunk of this data, for example. So you can pull out just her expenses for the months and put that in a new sheet, or create another type of chart that shows her salary for a couple years, for example. Okay, and keep building on it. All right. Another thing you can do with the sheets is you can move them around. So it's currently, the chart is first and then the expense worksheet. So you can just click on it. So to move the worksheets around, you just click on it and you just pull it on the left, and you see a little arrow pops up to the top, and you release it. And so now monthly expenses worksheet is number 1, and then the chart is on the second worksheet. Okay. The final thing we're going to do is to help with making the worksheet more easy to navigate. We can also change the color of the tabs. Okay, so if we wanted to change so that basically each tab could be a different color, each sheet could represent a different color visually. So you can right click on it and tab color. We can change this one to green, and then this one we can change this tab color. Let's change this one to orange. Okay, so the one that you're actively on, it whites it out a bit, and then you can see here clearly the next one is monthly expense chart. When you put your mouse over it, it bolds the word, and again, if you click on this one, it lightens it, and then you can see monthly expenses. So all of this just is helping for the user, the person looking at it, whether you're working on it or you are just reviewing it. It makes it easy to navigate the worksheet. So if you have 10 different charts, all of them should be labeled, and they should all have a different color so that it's easy to identify what they are and navigate. And basically, that's the end of the chapter. The worksheet is all formatted. We have our chart, which is formatted. So that's the end of module 1 for Excel. I hope you find this this recorded lecture useful. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope that if you're watching this, that you can use this recording and the book, and make sure you're up to speed, so that when we start on Tuesday, we'll move forward, so that we'll have enough time to wrap up the term. Okay, thank you. All the best. See you on Tuesday.